Hare Krishna. I'm Happy Jack, the founder and CEO of Happy Jack Yoga University, currently a Master of Divinity student at Harvard Divinity School. And I am here with a beautiful soul, Mother Gopi Gita, who has been an educator for more than 25 years. She's been the co-minister of an international society. She's been vice president, vice principal at a private school in Dallas. And truly, what touches me the most is that you're such a beautiful soul. We got to spend the last few months together taking a program through Oxford University, and you had such a positive impact on my life. And I'm honored to be here and be in this conversation with you to share your leadership parenting, your leadership teaching with the world. Mother Gopi Gita. Namaste. Welcome.
Namaste, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Happy Jack. I love being around you. You have such a vibrant, ecstatic energy about you. And I'm really excited to launch leadership teaching today with you and share it with all of those viewers who are here to tell you a little bit more about what this is all about.
I love it. And so, I mean, one of the things that we know is a big part of your background, a big part of, what you believe in and how it's impacted your life is this idea of bhakti. Can you just give us a sense? Because I know this is like the underlying foundation for so much of the work and the service that you do. What exactly is bhakti? How is it relevant for us? Just to set the context as we dive into this book.
Yes, I love that. So, bhakti is, in two words, inspired action
Mm,
or loving tasks,
mm.
or also known as devotional service. Every single step you take, every move you make. I'm thinking of that song.
Yeah.
You're inspiring your actions, you're inspiring your work with a mood of love. Love towards your society, love towards your community, love towards your inner self, also known as the universe, Mother Nature, the protectors, the owners, and who we call the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, inside of our hearts. And so bhakti is that mood that every step I take, everything I do is going to be inspired action, conscious work.
I love that. That is how I would want to live my life, and that's why I associate with people like you. So thank you for being in my life. And can you tell us, like, why did you write this book, Leadership? Well, you wrote Leadership Parenting, and now most recently, Leadership Teaching. What was the inspiration?
Yes. So my husband and I, we were raised in a bhakti environment since we were very young. Born
Mm.
and raised, my husband's parents are disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He is a guru who came to America in the 1960s and promoted this path of bhakti for 14 years. He traveled extensively, struggled quite a bit, and created a worldwide society of bhakti followers, bhakti practitioners. And so my husband was raised in that society, and I was as well. And like all of the kids that were raised in this bhakti movement, we found that there were challenges in supporting and nurturing the spiritual side, the spiritual needs of the children and the material needs of the children. How do you support and teach while also bringing material confidence and success and spiritual confidence and success? That usually in the world, whether you're in a spiritual institute or in any institute, one is prioritized over the other. And so, something that we discussed really well when our children were growing up, and when I became an educator, I knew I wanted to teach since I was 9 years old. And when I started teaching, apprenticing, and teaching, that was my first question is how can I get it so that the students I'm guiding and my own children are academically successful, leading societies when they get older, being able to step confidently into leadership in the contemporary space, but also retain and feel deep connection, deep embody deep values and deep spiritual connection. So that was our goal. And that's why I wrote leadership teaching, that you can know how to balance and empower both in your students.
That's amazing. I love it. And in preparing for our conversation, I was reading through your website, and read in there that your adult children have actually stepped into the role of, they are educators as well. They've been empowered, they've been inspired, and what a gift to be able to share, these kind of principles and lifestyles and virtues with kids at that age. I mean, I think back to the foolishness that I did as a kid, especially as a teenager and a young adult, and to be instilling this wisdom and philosophy at that stage is priceless. So thank you for creating that.
Thank you for sharing. It's not been an easy road, Jack. We wanted to do that. That was like the mission of my life as I became an early educator, that I wanted to learn to balance both material and spiritual. But in order to do that, I had to learn how to do it first. And so it's like, when you're a teacher and you're guiding others, you're learning the same lessons even deeper than your students are. And so I remember we faced many challenges. My husband was diagnosed with cancer, and regularly the cancer kept coming back. And in my classroom, when I was teaching, I found that the external life circumstances, all kinds of circumstances teachers are faced with, it made it difficult to stay focused and purpose oriented when I was teaching. I had struggles with classroom management, kids talking back, or chaos in the classroom when you put out a project. I had challenges with getting them to be motivated. Sometimes my students would be bored or uninterested or just not want to be there. And I'm the type of person that I have to, like, if I'm teaching, those kids need to be paying attention. And so I turned to the Bhakti secrets from the Bhakti literature and found powerful strategies that I first presented for parents, and now I'm presenting for teachers to actually how to solve all of those challenges. In 25 years, so many challenges and so many solutions with results. It's been pretty miraculous. And now teachers of the world are taking interest, and I meet with school leaders and discuss. I guide teachers in classrooms. I'm now the on the education chamber of Commerce Education Committee here in Dallas, and so it's been really exciting.
That's amazing. And just even looking through the table of contents and the structure, the way that you put the book together, can you tell us a little bit about that? It's clear to me there's a system. It seems there's kind of four distinct areas. Can you just give us a sense, and obviously we need to get the book. I need to get the book. Anybody watching, we need to get our hands on this, but give us a sense of what that framework looks like, if you could.
Yes. So it's four, I want to say easy steps, but really nothing in life is easy. But it's four happy, exciting, dynamic steps to educate anybody. But for the sake of this book, is for children and students and teenagers, to educate a student from where they are right now to leadership. The first step is identity. The teacher takes time to really powerfully set up their purpose and their reason. Right now, Jack, in the year 2023, last year, 300,000 teachers left from burnout. The number one reason was they experienced burnout.
Wow.
Teaching and education is generally considered a field where there's a lot of sacrifice being made. Teachers are paid less. Teachers struggle quite a bit, and it's not even spoken of much. People don't usually talk about it in the classrooms. That shows up with teachers feeling overwhelmed and not wanting to continue. And so, first, taking care of yourself. That's the first identity space. Identifying what is it that you need, how are you going to ask for it, why are you doing what you're doing, and really like meet your core needs first. So we go through 12 core needs and then move into supporting the needs of your students. That's the first phase of identity.
That's beautiful. I think that's so important, and it's actually very close to my heart. My mom was a school teacher, retired now. My sister is a school teacher. I could speak for my sister in particular. Like I've seen her come home at times. Like it's taxing. It's like physically taxing, definitely mentally taxing. And so I love that you really set the foundation of taking care of ourselves first. And what a great so that's the first section, is that correct?
Yes, that's the first section. And so in that first section, I tell the story of my son's tumor. I've had a bit of a dramatic life. My 15-year-old son, while we were teaching, and every time I talk about this, there's a bit of a pause, even though it's been 7 years. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor, in the middle of all of our service at the private school, TKG Academy in Dallas. And I had to really dig deep as to why am I doing what I'm doing? Because the pain that I felt at that period of time, here you are in full like devotional service mode. Every single task, every single action of ours was dedicated to service, to bhakti yoga, to service to Krishna and our community. And now our son is diagnosed, in addition to my husband's illness, my son is diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so the why, Krishna, would this happen? Why would you allow this? What is my purpose in being here, in what I'm doing here on this planet? And that, like, academic, material, spiritual success purpose that I had, I began to question. Like, my son had already at age 15 entered colleges. He was already on a path to graduating early. He was getting letters from professors at how he was already leading in the classroom, though he was the youngest by 3 or 4 years. Other students would come to him and turn to him for support. And suddenly he comes home, Jack, and he can no longer read. So it's almost like everything that was valuable to him was taken away, and then to us as a family. And through that journey, I found answers to that why. And I was able to really dig deeper into my heart as to what is my purpose and why am I teaching bhakti students, and why am I here in this world doing what I'm meant to do? And even more, Jack, my son, I took him for a walk when he was about 15, 16, like right after this, like 2 months after the surgery and all the chaos when things started settling down. And I'm like, did you figure out like your why? I think the question I asked him was, how do you make sense of all of this? What
Mhm.
happened to you? And he said, Mommy, I found out that even if everything I loved was taken away from me, like he's like all of my ability, that internally I will be okay.
Mm.
And that was so powerful for me to hear coming from a child, from my kid. And I was like, like, tell me more. And we would recite mantras together, some Sanskrit verses. There's this one verse, Samashrita ye padapallavaplavam. It's a beautiful verse in our literature. And we would recite that together and talking about the shelter, that when you attain spiritual shelter, when you attain divinity, you're a master of divinity. When you enter into that spiritual realm, even if you're in this material realm, that you find you find success, you find love, you find meaning that's so powerful that everything else kind of just like floats away. And so we were discussing that on that walk where he was sharing his thoughts about that. And it was that for me became like check, 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 check. As a mother, the pride, the feeling of like our school, our bhakti teachers, they got him to be materially successful. Like he's flying as far as his material success. He's in college, he's getting accolades from the professors. But look, somehow or another, by their guidance and by the structure of the bhakti education that we set up, he felt also spiritually that he was fine. Even though his reading had been taken away, he needed to learn to read again he did really, really quickly, 2 to 3 months. He didn't drop any of his courses. Actually, he dropped one, geography, because he hated it. He's like, oh, I get a chance to drop, not geography, sorry, geology. He's like, oh, I don't like geology. This is my chance to drop it. But yeah, so that's the identity. All of that is shared in the identity space. That not just my identity, but also that I'm trying to nourish the soul qualities of my students and their material objectives side by side. That I want them to get that deep feeling that I will be okay no matter what life hits me, no matter what life challenges come. And that comes through what we call soul qualities or values, resilience and empathy and love and trust and kindness. And there's like so many of them. So that's identity.
That's amazing. I mean, that's for me, that's a testament to the work that you've done with leadership parenting and leadership teaching. And like you say, I can't imagine a more fulfilling and like heartwarming response to hear from your child to for them to make that meaning from that adversity in life. And because that's obviously we know lots of people as well that, have things happen and it derails them and takes them down a not so good path. So beautiful. I mean, we're already getting a taste of what's possible from living this. Will you take us into the next section?
Yes, so the next phase is connection. So that was the first step of identity. The next step or phase is connection. Now, this path is been chalked out by two saints, Saint Gora and Saint Nitai, also known as Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Mahaprabhu. Saint Gora and Saint Nitai are the promoters of the path of bhakti, and they're non-secular, non-religious, not non-secular, non-sectarian, non-religious, universal principles. And another universal principle that they embodied was connection. Everyone Saint Gora met was magnetically attracted to him. And so, as teachers, we want our students to be attracted to what we're saying. We want them to pay attention. We want their eyes to look at us when we're talking. You're a yoga teacher, and you want your yoga students to be like interested and fully present and energized when you speak. And so, in the connection phase, we teach empathic communication skills. I've taken many courses and many trainings over the past 25 years. I've distilled it down to those specific things you can do and say every single day, really quick strategies that you can do to get your kids to be totally attentive to what you're saying and to attract their attention. And even more, to want to do what you're asking them to do, to want to hear what you're telling them. And so that's in the connection phase.
Nice. It's so important. I mean, yoga essentially means connection, right? Comes from the root word yuj, to unite, to connect. And I mean, that's certainly our intention as yoga teachers. We really empower our students and teachers to right at the beginning of class to whether it's, sharing eye contact or sharing a smile or giving a hug, and just creating that connection way more important than, the words that we say or the advanced poses we may do, but creating that connection. So that makes perfect sense for me
Yeah,
from simply my
yes.
standpoint.
Yes, and as teachers, when our students are disconnected, it can really make us feel like we're failing. When our students are, I've had students in the early years, I've had students who've called me bad words or been upset at me or been belligerent or arrogant or bored, uninterested. And I go home and I remember at those times I would be like almost like sleepless nights, like how do I get to them, how do I get their interest? And even it would make me reactive when a student talks back to you or you feel, especially like if you're guiding teenagers, you feel like maybe they're a little attitudey or they don't understand, they're challenging you. It can make you reactive and it make you want to hold on to control more and control them more. And so in this section, we give you strategies to like smooth that out, work on your own interconnection. So now you can work on your students' interconnection.
That's it. I can see. I mean, you're so much more advanced. And as a Bhakti yoga practitioner, come on, you were born into it. I've just been doing it a few years, but I can get a sense from what you're sharing, how you're bringing this timeless wisdom, but making it really very relevant, very practical for us as parents, as teachers, and that's what we need. Because most of us haven't been doing this for half a century or 45 years or whatever. So that's beautiful. And so we've talked of three sections, and there's a fourth section.
So that was the second section was connection. So now the
So
third
my
section,
mistake, yeah.
yeah. So now the third section is agency. And Jack, I'm really glad. I want to call you Happy Jack every time. I actually would love at this point to that you share your Happy Jack story
Yeah.
to our viewers. You're saying that I'm so advanced and I'm blah blah blah, but you, Jack, are also so advanced. so amazed by your inquiry, your deep inquiry in our Oxford course, and your path, like how fast and how quickly you are assimilating so many things. Your own like state of being is contagious. And I'd love to hear about that happiness and where that comes from. Just to share with everybody that you also share a little bit of your essence.
Yeah, well, thank you for the kind words. I don't know. I just have a lot of questions. I can admit to that. I have a lot of questions, a lot to learn. But I was sharing with you before we began here, my nickname Happy Jack, my parents gave me when I was a kid. When I was just a baby, I was always smiling. I was always happy. And my dad, I had a telephone. My dad would like write Happy Jack on all my toys. But then as I went away to school, I didn't have the kind of culture and teachers that you're describing. I went off to school. I got teased, I got bullied, put on a bunch of weight, wasn't taking care of myself, and really lost that shine. I lost that happiness, for several years. And then, a few years later, I found yoga. And through the practice of yoga, not bhakti yet, but through the practice of yoga, started peeling away the layers, and I got back to being happy again. And so we called our school Happy Jack Yoga.
That's like, I love it. I love it. That's exactly what this connection phase does, that we want exactly this experience for every teacher who's guiding every student. That this experience, this transformation that you felt, that this state of being, of confidence, of joy, of happiness, that's our goal as well for leadership teaching. And so that moves us right into agency, the third state, because when you are entering agency. So we expect our students to do all kinds of tasks, but a lot of times there's conflict in the tasks that they do because their state of being is stuck, because they're disconnected, they're not happy. They have emotions that are stuck. Socio-emotional learning is so important. Actually, socio-emotional learning is the foundation. Knowledge and wisdom in bhakti comes out of relationships. It arises from a confidence and inner socio-emotional state. And if your socio-emotional state isn't settled and content and your needs aren't being met, your needs of connection and belonging aren't being met, it's going to be harder for you to learn things. It's going to be harder for you to do things. And so that's where now that you have settled in the connection state of your students, you move into agency. And agency is getting them that fire to do the tasks, building in that motivation. It's like wild horses. When you have the children, they know what to do, they know how to do it, they enter the class, they're leading themselves. So we talk about the difference between a student-led environment and a teacher-led environment. Um, we talk about choice, we talk about routines, how to recharge the routines. Put your backpack, so many teachers know how frustrating it is to tell the kids to put their shoes in the right place or put their backpack up, and they don't. And it's like you give reminders and you have to raise your voice and you get annoyed. And so this agency is about tasks, how to provide an environment that they're excited about the tasks that they need to learn.
That's awesome. Again, just hearing about all this, it makes me think back and reflect on my childhood. I'm embarrassed to say I was that kid. I was the misbehaving. I would have really needed this kind of structure and to find meaning and to have the agency, to be empowered, because it's so easy to misbehave. And truthfully, that is what I did and many of my friends did. So what a beautiful, yeah, just a framework to be able to share with teachers of various kinds, to share with the kids.
Yeah, I'm imagining you as a kid, and I would imagine that we would be great friends because I was also I was very dutiful, but there was definitely a side of me and still is a side of me that's a nonconformist that wants to like break boundaries. So I end up making friends with those who do that, like kind of living vicariously through them.
Yeah.
So so
Nice.
the agency when you're trying to get your student to say do a math worksheet or complete the assignment, finish the project, and there's a lot of conflict with that or struggles with that, the agency space teaches you exactly how to attract them to that topic and that lesson, and then build the skills for it. And so that's also covered in the agency space.
Amazing. Okay, so we've touched on three now, three
Yeah.
sections, and give us bring this all home. Number
Okay.
four.
So number four, the leadership section. This is where the goal of the leadership section is that the student that you're guiding, any
Mm.
student, anywhere that you're guiding, can now guide others.
Wow.
And as a student myself, as a student of my Parama Guru, Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, my spiritual teacher, of all of my gurus, my Siksha gurus, and my instructional spiritual teachers in this society, as a student of life, I found when I was a little girl, like many of my peers, I was abused, sexually abused. And I'm not going to speak for people also who were, but 1 in 3 in the population experienced this statistically. And so during all of the trials of life and trying to figure out how to, again, the why would this happen? What is the purpose of this? A few years ago, I was in a call, one of my leadership parents, and she had read my previous book, which talks a little bit, which I just kind of drop this bit in a little. And she felt comfortable, Jack, to open up to me and get support. And
Mm.
in that moment, it was the first time that someone had experienced something similar and opened up to me. And in that moment, because working through the trauma of childhood abuse has been a lifelong journey. And another reason why I do what I do, to protect children and teenagers as they're moving in this world. And when I was sitting in that call and when she was talking to me and her tears were pouring and I was supporting her, I also have training as a coach, training as an executive coach and a trauma coach, of course, guiding her to therapy as she needs. But when she opened up, Jack, it was suddenly like this epiphany for me as to this is why. And the answer is different for everybody. Everybody's why comes at different spaces and different reasons. But for me, that landed so deeply that Krishna, this is why this happened to me, because I can relate to her now. I can understand what she's going through. I can support her, and she can feel comfortable to talk to me about this. And I can help heal her inner child that was hurt. And that why was so powerful. That is the focus of the leadership stage, that each of the students that you're guiding, there's like different levels of it. You have found your identity, your connection, your agency. You know all the challenges and all the mistakes you've gone through to get to that space. Now you can be the leader who creates other leaders.
Mm.
And then your student has moved up the levels. We have, we have 9 processes in this 4 frameworks and in this 4-part framework. And now they're at a point where they have developed certainty. The Sanskrit word for that is nishtha. Certainty, mastery of their lessons. They're getting hundreds. They're okay with their mistakes. They're leaning into choice. And now that they have that certainty, immediately they can begin teaching their friends and peer teaching. And so in a classroom setting, as soon as I see a student has developed mastery or nishtha, now I immediately engage them in peer teaching. And so peer leadership, how do you help your student teach another student? And not teach
Mm.
like I'm a teacher and you have to do what I have to do, but guide and support and assist and be there for someone who's struggling with the math problem or the language arts or the craft that they need to make in the Sunday school environment. And so that was the purpose of the leadership space. And ultimately, Saint Gora's path is about Sankirtan or leadership. That it's not enough that I just rise to divinity or rise to be the best human and make my impact. I must, I must support my community. I must bring along my community. And the head instructor of St. Mark's Preparatory School here in Dallas, Colin Ego, he gave the best definition of leadership that I had heard. A leader is one who helps everybody get to a common goal, not the
Mm.
one who's at the front bossing people around and telling you what to do and cracking the whip. And so in leadership teaching, as a teacher, you're facilitating their movement through these phases. And now you're leaning back and allowing the students to facilitate each other. And in this space, you experience flow, you experience love, amplified love. It was so magical, Jack, when I would walk from one campus to the other. I felt sometimes so blissful that I felt like I would be floating away like a balloon because it's so amazing to see all of these kids like ready to go, leading, and have so many examples of how even 5 and even 10 and 15 and now my alumni students, how they're in leadership. Each of them are in leadership.
Wow, that's so inspiring. I mean, just to know, like, thank you for being so open and honest and vulnerable with us. It causes me to think about my life and reflect on, some of the adversities that I've been through. For 15 years was abusing alcohol and drugs, and now celebrate 15 years sobriety. Um,
Wow,
but
excellent.
because of that, now I love going into different rehab centers and teaching yoga and connecting with them. So being able to take that adversity and be able to connect with others who are going through it. And the same, I also was diagnosed with cancer 11 years ago. And I remember as I was going through that, like connecting with other students of ours who were navigating it, with the kids at the sick kids hospital. Um, I I ended up putting on over 100 pounds. I was over 250 pounds. And so as I was navigating that unhealthy stage of life, I can connect with others who are, going through, I've been married and unmarried twice. So all these different adversities, and frankly, none of those are as uh, perhaps traumatic as what you went through earlier in age. But regardless, right? We're not here to compare, but I know for me, being able to get through those and be empowered to connect with others was through the practice of yoga. And so now to know that you have actually, I just kind of fumbled my way through the fact that you've created a system, like a framework to be able to share this with the kids, even if they haven't had something big happen yet, to just empower them with this lifestyle. And then for them to become leaders is like, this will change the world. We need this everywhere in every institution.
I didn't know that. We spent so much time together in the Oxford course. I didn't realize that you also had been through, it's like the scars are the mark of a warrior. And it makes sense now how why you're so deeply connected, why you have so many questions. You have also faced some pretty hardcore adversity. Addiction is not easy. Speaking from
Mhm.
personal experience, certain addictions, certain toxic addictions, it's not easy. It's a daily battle. It's a constant struggle. And so that you're who you are speaks volumes with all of these scars that, we've built up. And it's interesting, Jack, we're both speaking here and our listeners, every single person has their scar, has their challenge, has their life like their debilitating challenge that makes them not want to get up in the morning,
Mhm.
makes you unmotivated, makes you wonder why the hell you're doing what you're doing, makes you want to escape and run away. And so, as we guide our students through these different stages, we ourselves transform and become the leadership teacher that we're meant to be. And really, it's about connecting deeply with the inner self, with your inner teacher, Krishna. And so the entire process, Jack, every single chapter has mantra. My my love is of mantras. I started learning mantras when I was in a classroom, not a classroom, a temple room in the Fisher Mansion in Detroit, surrounded by tall white American swamis. My dad would take me in the snow on his shoulder. I was like 2 or 3, and I loved, just like you love, how much we loved that Gaudiya course at Oxford University. Even as a little girl, I loved hearing the Sanskrit. I loved memorizing the Sanskrit. I loved reading the philosophy behind the texts. And so that mantra now I share with the world. Every single chapter has a mantra. And a mantra is an affirmation, a deep mindset shift that I am here to do powerful service, that every moment that I am with my students is a moment that's created and enacted by a powerful being who resides in my heart to help me. And I'll end this leadership space with the story of the gopis. The gopis are divine damsels. They're like angels. They're like the height of bhakti. They're the height of loving devotional tasks where they double their results and their flow. The most prominent gopi is goddess Srimati Radharani, goddess Radha, and she can cook with 100 stoves flitting here and there and here and there and here and there in 1 hour because she's able to double her productivity, double her results, triple, quadruple, and with a whole team of people, her leadership skills are profound. And so when you enter this space of leadership, the final space of in Sanskrit, what is called bhava and prema, and in our book is presented as flow and love, you start amplifying. The money starts pouring in, the results start getting hit really quick. Your students start mastering in half the time. Your hours, and right now I have clients that are, one is an audiologist, one is a pediatrician. She has a clinic. One is an analyst, a business analyst. I have clients who are finding these principles like literally able to double their revenue, double their team's motivation, like measuring their successes just through this path of leadership. And so with Srimati Radharani, with Goddess Radha's blessings and mercy, you can read that last section of leadership.
Wow, that's amazing. I wanted to ask you about the different results that are possible. You've already given us a taste, your own results, a few examples there. But say for the average person, listening right now, what could we possibly expect? Say if we were to get ourselves a copy of leadership teaching, or to work with you, or to get involved with your app. I understand you got an amazing app. What might we expect?
So the first thing you'll experience is your students paying attention to you when you talk to them.
Right.
You'll be able to manage your classroom. So classroom management's a big thing for teachers. Like, how do I get them to go from point A to point B and do XYZ that I need them to do without the chaos? Your students will feel confident and comfortable to do it, even when you're not there. I have experienced, and the teachers I guide experience, that if they don't show up, if there's a substitute, or if they have to leave the classroom for a bathroom emergency, not advised. You should always have someone else in the classroom to support your teaching. But even if the main teacher is not there, the students know what to do, know how to do it, and want to do it. When a child gets hurt, three students will, I'm talking about third graders, will know that, oh, I need to run to the drawer with have the band-aids. This is our procedure. This is what we do. So that's the first thing, that feeling. The second thing that we've experienced, and it's not just me, all of these strategies were crafted by a few of us educators at our private school. The second thing you'll experience, Jack, is your students, whether you're a yoga teacher or a classroom teacher or a Sunday school teacher, your students will beg to come to your classes.
Mm.
This happens pretty quickly. The begging and the excitement to come to class, where the students are running to class, where they have doctor's appointments and they're complaining to their parents, like, why can't you have the doctor's appointments at the end of the day? Why during school? We don't want to miss that lesson. And my students would beg to take homework home. I wasn't a big homework, I didn't give a lot of homework for third graders and second graders, but they're begging to take homework home. They're taking their homework home on their own. They want to do the work. And these things I experienced, I want to say for 10 years, 12 years. And now the teachers that I guide are also experiencing this every day in their classrooms. It's actually quite exciting. And the most powerful result, Jack, is when you see a student that you've taught and you've guided step into leadership. Recently, I went to an event, a dramatic presentation held by one of my former students. She graduated from high school with my son, and she directed and performed with a group of 40 players, a 1 hour drama with the sound engineer was also a former student. And usually for the dramas that we did dramas 3 times a year. Dramas was also like something I loved doing. And I had a sound person, a separate sound person, a separate light person, and a separate music person for the dramas that I directed. And this young man, a former student of ours, of our Bhakti school, he's doing all three at one time. And so organized and so proficient, it was like flawless. And last, my young son just won competition at the University of Texas, Dallas. He got first place. He led his team of 14 people. And when I arrived to see, it was like, yeah, your son, he's the one who did all this. We couldn't have done anything without Nitai. He's being right now he's being called by companies interviewing, like materially successful, spiritually supporting the mantra lounge at the university with his peers. Like these kids who go through this happy loving bhakti system, they thrive spiritually and materially. And Prabhupada wanted, our guru Srila Prabhupada, he wanted our kids to be leaders of society. He said that they already are. You just need to work with them in such a way. He wanted this bhakti education model to be a model of education for the entire society. And so that's in our humble attempt what we're here to present. And we ask all the educators here to come and give us their thoughts, their feedback, take a look at the book, sign up to my app if you are a teacher. It's a new app that's coming out shortly, and we'll continue the conversation.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, I wish that all of the leaders, and I'm in Canada, you're down in the States, but around the world, we need leaders with this kind of level of integrity and just these virtues and qualities. Just to bring it all together, how do we get your book? How do we get in line for the app? How do we stay in touch?
Lead,
What's their next step?
so leadteachparent.com. Go to leadteachparent.com and sign up for the newsletter. That's the best way to get in touch with me and get updates is signing up for that newsletter. Yeah, you can look at leadershipparenting.com, but leadteachparent.com is exactly where to go. And Instagram, leadership or lead teach parent. Instagram, lead teach parent. And all the information are on those two places. I'm also on LinkedIn as lead teach parent. Just look up lead teach parent, Mother Gopi Gita. The book is at Amazon right now. We've got a Kindle promotion, a free Kindle promotion going so you can download the book right now until Monday for free. On Amazon, type in leadership teaching Mother Gopi Gita and you'll find it.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. I hope that we're all flocking to this. You mentioned that it's relevant for us as yoga teachers. We're
Yes.
excited to share this with our community as well. And please keep spreading your light, keep shining bright. And I'm just so grateful to be your friend, that we have this connection now. This is like the beginning
This
of
is
our
the beginning.
friendship. And but for everybody out there listening, thank you for your time. Gopi, thank you for your time. The world's a better place because of
Ah,
you.
you as well, Jack. Thank you so much. And for everybody listening, the work you're doing is the most powerful work in the world. The
Mm.
work you're doing with your students. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the one who shares this with someone else, is the most dear to me. And so be most dear right now and hit that share button.
I love it. Amazing. Have an amazing day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.